So I will now ask the voting members to please open their cameras as we proceed to the vote. Dr. Cohn or Dr. Messonnier, do you wish to address the voting members before we begin?
Dr. Romero, we are pulling up the language for the first vote, but I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Messonnier to make a comment before the vote.
This is Dr. Messonnier from CDC. I just want to thank the ACIP members, liaisons, and ex officio members for the past 2 days, as well as for the multiple past months of their careful thought on these issues, as I think were noted by several members of the public. We look to this committee to be scientifically driven and transparent, and you have certainly fulfilled that responsibility. I know you share with me the burden of the importance of this moment that we find ourselves in after so long and so much work by so many parties around the world. To have this vaccine in front of us available for this vote it is a high honor, and we all understand that if ACIP votes today for this vaccine, this is only one step. There is much work left to do, but it's a hugely important step. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Cohn, may I proceed to take the vote?
Yes, so before we proceed with the vote, I just want to remind all the members to please have their videos on. Give us 1 second. We're going to change the view. We also want to remind all members that we will do both sets of votes, and then we will provide each member an opportunity to make a statement explaining their vote after the vote has concluded.
Thank you very much. For the public, again, I wish to note that 3 voting members have indicated conflicts and will not be issuing a vote. However, I will ask the 3 voting members, when I call your name, to please state that you recuse yourself. Excuse me, I'm sorry. That you recuse yourself. All right. So I will begin calling the roll alphabetically with your chair last, and begin with Dr. Robert Atmar. Dr. Atmar, how do you vote?
Atmar, recuse.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Lynn Bata.
Yes.
Dr. Beth Bell.
Bell? Yes.
I believe I did something out of order here. I should have read the vote. Forgive my error on that. Let me read that vote, the item to be voted on, and then we'll restate the votes. Excuse the error by your chair. So to begin, the question at hand is as follows. The Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine is recommended for persons 16 years of age and older in the U.S. population under the FDA's emergency use authorization. So we will now vote on this, and I will start from the top again. Forgive me. Dr. Kevin Alt.
Alt, yes.
Thank you. Dr. Atmar.
Atmar, recuse.
Ms. Bata.
Bata, yes.
Dr. Bell.
Bell, yes.
Dr. Bernstein.
Bernstein, yes.
Dr. Fry.
Fry, recuse.
Dr. Hunter.
Hunter, recuse.
Dr. Lee.
Lee, yes.
Ms. McNally.
McNally, yes.
Dr. Palin.
Paling, yes.
Dr. Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Dr. Szilagyi,
Szilagyi, yes.
Dr. Talbot,
Talbot, yes.
Romero, yes. Dr. Cohn, the vote is 11 in favor, 3 recused. The motion passes. Next motion, please.
Dr. Romero, I concur with your count, and I want to remind the voting members that on the schedule amendment, all members can vote.
So again, I will read the motion, and we will start alphabetically. And as Dr. Cohn has pointed out, all members may vote. So the motion: recommend the proposed amendment to the 2021 adult and child adolescent immunization schedules. We will begin. Dr. Atmar,
Atmar, yes.
Dr. Alt,
Alt, yes.
Dr. Bata,
Bata, yes.
excuse me, Miss Bata, Dr. Bell,
Bell, yes.
Dr. Bernstein,
Bernstein, yes.
Dr. Fry,
Fry, yes.
Dr. Hunter,
Hunter, yes.
Dr. Lee,
Lee, yes.
Ms. McNally,
McNally, yes.
Dr. Paling,
Paling, yes.
Dr. Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Dr. Szilagyi,
Szilagyi, yes.
Dr. Talbot,
Talbot, yes.
Romero, yes. Dr. Cohn, we have 14 votes in favor, none opposed, none recused. The motion passes.
Yes, I concur. The motion passes.
Thank you all very much for that vote. We'll now open it up to comments from the members of the ACIP, the voting members of the ACIP. Please go forward, whoever wishes. And I'm sorry, let me just pull the list over.
Give us just a second.
Okay. I see Dr. Talbot is first
Yeah.
on the list.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to all the incredible civil servants who have worked tirelessly to make this happen. This is our first kind of big break in this epidemic, and many of our civil servants at both the CDC, the FDA, and the states have been working crazy hours with no extra pay, all to make this U.S. a better place. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Dr. Talbot. Dr. Szilagyi, please.
Yes. First, I wanted to give a really big thank you to everybody who's on this video, to the ACIP voting members, to the liaisons and affiliated organizations whom I so admire. And I really wanted to thank the CDC work group, the COVID work group, the CDC leaders, and the thousands of people at CDC who are working on this pandemic and on the vaccine. I want to say that I voted for the vaccine because of the clear evidence of its efficacy, safety profile, and benefit risk profile based on our evidence to policy framework. I wanted to emphasize that this recommendation is within the context of our prior phased allocation recommendation. And as a pediatrician, I wanted to say strongly that I felt 16 to 17-year-olds should be included in the routine vaccine recommendation for COVID, in the COVID vaccine recommendation, because of the risks from the disease and the lack of any evidence to suggest that the efficacy or safety profile should be different for 16 to 17-year-olds than for 18 to 25-year-olds. I also wanted to reemphasize what many people and I have said today for the need for substantially increased government funding to actually implement the recommendation. So this is government funding to state and local public health organizations, and also funding to health systems and health providers. So I know we're going to have very tough and sad times ahead because of the surge in a limited vaccine supply, but I am really hopeful that this is the beginning of the end of the coronavirus pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you very much here. Dr. Bell has brought something to my attention, and I want to be sure that that something was not amiss. So, Dr. Alt, did I happen to skip you on the vote, sir?
You skipped me because you didn't read the vote, but I voted yes for both proposals.
Okay.
You got me the second time around, so I got to vote. I'm happy.
I'm sorry. Forgive me. Dr. Cohen, do we need to do anything to go back and amend that so that there is no doubt about this vote?
We're good, Dr. Romero.
Okay. Again, your chair begs forgiveness for that oversight. So we will continue with our comments. Dr. Bell, thank you again for the pointing out the oversight, and please go forward with your comments.
Thank you, Dr. Romero. You actually fixed the oversight without my intervention. So I wanted to, first of all, reflect on all of the suffering that all of us here in the United States and around the world are going through under the pandemic, and say that this vaccine and future vaccines do provide a promise of a lot of progress in the future, while, of course, for the moment, our vaccine supplies are going to be limited for quite some time to come, I think. I wanted to say that I do believe that the process that we have used here in the ACIP to reach this decision is transparent, is science-based, keeps equity in mind, and is, for this moment, the absolute best that we can do. I also wanted to recognize people's concerns about this vaccine and other vaccines and new vaccines, and say that oftentimes one consideration or one factor that people consider is they say, well, would you take this vaccine and would you give this vaccine to your family members? And I can say quite confidently that, yes, I certainly will take this vaccine when I'm able, and I would give it to my family members. And I think that the risk-benefit is pretty clear. Finally, I wanted to just raise two important points that have been raised by others, but I'll just also add my voice. The first is the importance of clear communication. And I know that the CDC, as well as many partner organizations, are very skilled in this and stand ready to provide clear communication over and over again. And I would hope that this would be facilitated and this would be recognized as an important component of our vaccination programs. And the second is the point that has been made several times now, which is about funding. And I don't think it's unfair or unreasonable to make a comparison between the amount of money, the billions of dollars that have gone to the development of vaccines. Granted, I certainly recognize what a huge accomplishment that has been and continues to be, but I think that the imbalance between that kind of money and the funding that has been provided for the vaccination programs and for implementation is really shocking and needs to be corrected because we are not going to be able to protect the American public if we don't have a way to deliver the vaccines to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. McNally.
This COVID-19 vaccine offers us hope. It's important to remember that while this vaccine has been developed at an incredible pace and involves new technology, it's gone through all the appropriate regulatory channels and the approval processes have been transparent. The ACIP has held 9 meetings since February of 2020, including this meeting yesterday and today. We've heard over 70 presentations on COVID-19 and the COVID-19 vaccines. We've considered the disease epidemiology, benefits and harms, values, acceptability, feasibility, resource use, and equity. Regarding safety, we saw that reactogenicity events were transient and resolved within a couple of days after onset, and the incidence of severe or serious, adverse events was similar to the vaccine and placebo groups, with 0.6% and 0.5% respectively. Regarding the effectiveness of this vaccine, we saw that overall efficacy was 95%. There are things we don't know yet, but many issues were addressed during the clinical considerations presentation today. By way of example, there are unknowns regarding pregnancy and lactating women, and there's limited data for 16 and 17-year-olds, but additional data will become available. And I was reassured by the comments from ACOG and AAP on these issues. The CDC has done an incredible job, in spite of the immense time crunch, getting information on its website about what to expect after vaccination, the benefits of vaccination, and the latest recommendation for who should be vaccinated. We heard today about the CDC consumer-friendly fact sheet that will be provided to recipients in addition to the EUA fact sheet. Over the past several months, as the consumer representative, I've asked questions I think the public has. I believe the ACIP process has worked. I value the expertise of my ACIP colleagues, as well as the CDC's expertise, guidance, and tireless dedication. The theme that has emerged for me is a commitment to continuously collect, review, and report data. The systems are in place, and that vaccine safety and effectiveness data will continue to inform clinical guidance and recommendation for COVID-19 vaccines. The need for this vaccine is profound. Because the current data support this vaccine, that it's safe and effective for the majority of people, I voted yes.
Thank you, Ms. McNally. Dr. Bernstein.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Romero. I too extend my deep and sincere appreciation to the CDC leaders, COVID-19 work group, the multiple liaisons and partners, and to the public, because together we all will help to make the United States and the world safer. With the pandemic resulting in thousands of deaths each day, keeping equity in mind, and knowing 16 and 17-year-olds are actively being studied, I voted in favor of both items. I also recognize that this teenage group can actively transmit SARS-CoV-2 infection to contacts in their families and communities. I would still propose that we consider adding this age group as a special population in these interim clinical considerations, explaining that available data is limited at this time. Child health providers will benefit from additional specific detail in recommending and discussing COVID-19 vaccines with parents, families, and communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Sanchez. Dr. Sanchez, we are having problems hearing you.
Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I also want to thank the CDC and the COVID work group for their amazing and ongoing work. It's been really an amazing and well thought out process. I very much agree with the approval of this vaccine as stated, based on its strong efficacy and safety, knowing that there will be ongoing evaluation on both ends. And also, I really feel that this is a really important beginning in terms of trying to end this pandemic and deal with it in an effective manner. I think that that I also would recommend it for myself and my family. I feel very comfortable with this recommendation, but I also feel very strongly that it needs to be allocated in a fair manner based on risk factors, such as we and others here at CDC are doing. really thank you for the opportunity to work on this recommendation.
Thank you very much. Do any other voting member wish to make a statement?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Dr. Paling, I'm sorry. There you go.
All right, thank you. Just 12 months ago, COVID-19 pneumonia was first identified. I want to thank the many scientists whose work over decades and the past year has enabled the creation and assessment of vaccines, as well as the many analyses that have been publicly reviewed. I want to thank the many participants of the vaccine trials that have enabled this EUA. I want to thank all those at the CDC, FDA, and many, many more who have worked under incredible time pressure to transparently share the information needed. The collaborative work and sharing data throughout the process has enabled all the processes needed to approve or to submit a EUA and has been fulfilled without any shortcuts. I express tremendous gratitude to all of those in the work group who have diligently informed and prepared us for this moment. The gravity of the COVID-19 pandemic needs to be underscored. Over 15 million Americans have been infected, and over 291,000 have died. Many Americans are experiencing negative impacts from COVID-19. The FDA issued this EUA after a careful review of safety and effectiveness of the vaccine. While more information will continue to become available, at this time, we are asked how to do the greatest good. As the pandemic continues to spread, hospitalizations are at record levels, I vote to make vaccine available by the CDC's prioritization schedule. I will take this vaccine and will recommend it to my family members as well when that time is offered. A highly immunogenic vaccine will also have expected reactions. There are multiple safety monitoring systems and a newly created vaccine safety technical subgroup to carefully review all data. Revisions and update of information are expected and reflect that the process is working. As vaccines begin to be offered, it is important that the vaccine is offered to all within each priority group and will require outreach and communication to achieve the equitable distribution desired. There is much work that needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other voting members that wish to make a statement? Then I'll take this moment to add my comments to the list of comments that have already been made, and many of these have already been covered. But let me begin by thanking everyone at the CDC, the senior leadership, Dr. Cohn, Dr. Messonnier, all of the working group, Drs. Dooling, Oliver, Mumbai, our work group chair, Dr. Bell, the voting members, including Dr. Talbot, and Dr. Lee, and all of the ACIP members, which would take too long to read at this point, the liaisons, the ex officios, and also a group that we have not acknowledged as much as we should, which are the subgroup for vaccine safety. Thank you very much for your efforts and deliberations on this. I want to make a comment for the public in general. ACIP has worked to deliver vaccine to the general public that maximizes benefit, minimizes harm, addresses issues of equity, and issues of healthcare disparity. The vote taken today represents the work carried out over 9 months since April of this year. The deliberations have been thorough and have been in depth. No question that we felt was important was left unturned. All data was presented to us as we asked for. There has been a thorough, robust, in-depth discussion. We now present to the general public the ability to prevent COVID-19 disease. These deliberations are important in coming to the recommendations. I want to stress that we have throughout this process looked at safety, and I know that safety is an issue that is of concern to the public. At all stages of the development and license and approval and further recommendations for this vaccine, safety has been listed as a priority by the FDA and by the ACIP. We hope that the public has a confidence in this. Speaking as a person of color, I am grateful that the pharmaceutical companies, Pfizer, have included minority populations in this study, and we have data from those groups. So I want to thank everyone. I want to also mention that what has been mentioned before, that if and when my turn comes to receive this vaccine, I will receive it without hesitancy. So with that, unless there are other comments by Dr. Cohn, I will gavel this meeting to a close.
Dr. Romero,
Dr.
I just
Cohn.
wanted to,
Yes.
before you gavel, I just wanted to remind everybody that at this time we have a whole another 2-day meeting set up for next weekend on Friday, December 18th and December 20th. Same alert and notification if Pfizer issues an EUA for if Moderna if the FDA issues an emergency use authorization for the Moderna product prior to Saturday at 10 a.m., we will move the ACIP meeting to Saturday to do the vote in the same fashion as we did today. And I also want to take 1 minute to tell everyone that we will be having 2 clinical outreach calls Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time and Monday as well. I do not recall the time. At 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for clinicians to get questions answered about this product. So thank you very much to all of you. And Dr. Romero, I'll let you go ahead and end the meeting with your gavel.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure working with you all. Have a good remainder of the day and your weekend. Rest, be safe, take care. I gavel this meeting to a close.